Part B. Using your calculated returns for Zambezi Farms Limited, determine the stock's beta coefficient. Interpret what this beta value means for an investor in ZFL. So colleagues, remember, beta is measures systematic risk. Okay, systematic risk for a share or a stock. Okay, and it measures that in relation to the stock market. The stock market has a beta of 1. Okay, this is the cutoff point. Stock market has a beta of 1. Okay, anything above 1, risk. Anything below 1, less risk. Okay, so we're going to interpret after we get this, all right? So, just a recap, we calculated the returns for Zambezi Farms Limited. Remember, we added these and divided them by 4 because there are 4 years here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 years. So we added these stocks and we divided them by 4. We got an expected return of 11.25%. Okay. We also calculated the standard deviation for ZFL using this table here. Okay. And we got a standard deviation of 10.825%. So now we have to calculate the beta for the stock. Okay. So the beta of a stock, this is the formula here, colleagues. Okay. It is the covariance divided by the variance of the market. So the covariance of ZFL stock and Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay. So it's the covariance divided by the market variance. So colleagues, this term covariance, what it is, it just shows how the two stocks are related to each other. Okay, in this case, it's showing the relationship between Zambezi Farms Limited stock, how it's related to the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay, that's what covariance is. It's just showing a relationship between two stocks. Okay, or a stock and the market. Okay, so if the covariance is a positive value, it means there is a positive relationship. So if the Lusaka Securities Exchange rises, also Zambezi Farms Limited, their stock is also going to rise. That's a positive relationship. If the Lusaka Securities Exchange goes down, also Zambezi Farms Limited stock is also going to go down. That's a positive relationship. Okay, they are moving in the same direction. If the covariance is negative, it means they move in opposite directions, meaning the Lusaka Securities Exchange can go up, Zambezi Farms Limited will go down. Lusaka Securities Exchange can go down, Zambezi Farm Limited can go up. Okay, that's a negative covariance. They move in opposite directions. So you might ask yourself, what's the importance of this in investment management? Well, whenever you are making a portfolio, colleagues, remember, a portfolio is a group of stocks that you combine. Okay, maybe buy shares in ShopRite, Zambia Breweries. You know, you buy shares in different companies. Okay, why? Because you're trying to get rid of unsystematic risk. Okay, you're buying shares in different sectors, so that if that year the agriculture sector is doing bad and your shares have gone down that side, at least in another sector you should cancel that out another sector has done well. Okay, so whenever you're making a portfolio, the best thing is you would want a negative covariance. Okay, so that if one sector is doing bad, at least the other sector will be doing well. Okay, if you have a positive covariance, it means if one sector does bad, the other sectors also, the other shares for the other sectors are also going to do bad. Okay, so the ideal covariance that you want is a negative one. Okay, so that if one place does bad, you can, at least you get returns from the other side. Okay, yes. So now the covariance. Okay, you need, we also need the expected return for the Lusaka Securities Exchange. We need the expected return, and we also need the standard deviation. Okay, for Lusaka Securities Exchange. We already have for ZFL. Now for Lusaka Securities Exchange, we also have to calculate those. Okay, so we'll repeat the process again. Okay, the expected return for the Lusaka Securities Exchange, remember these values are from the table. Okay, 10% plus 8% plus 15% plus 12%, 45%. Divided by 4, 11.25%. Okay, this is the expected return for the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay. Next, we now need to get the standard deviation for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Remember, we already did all of this for Zambezi Farms Limited. The same process, okay? Each individual return from the market minus the expected return, then you square, and then divide by n. Okay? So if we come for Lusaka Securities Exchange, we have the individual returns here. We have the expected returns here. So step 1, subtract 10 minus 11.25, negative 1.25. 8 minus 11.25, negative 3.25. 15 minus 11.25, 13.75. 12 minus 11.25, 0.75. Okay, these are the deviations, how far each return is from the average return. Then you square each of these. Negative 1.25 squared, you get that. Negative 3.25 squared, you're going to get that. 3.75 squared, you will get this. 0.75 squared, you get this. Okay, subtract, then get the square root. Square the number. Then after you've squared each deviation, you add 1.5 plus 10.5 plus 14 plus 0.5. You're going to get 26.75. Okay, so the standard deviation 26.75 divided by 4, 6.6. Okay, so the Lusaka Securities Exchange has a smaller standard deviation, meaning your returns are going to be close to 11.25. Okay, on average your returns will be close to 11.25. Okay, colleagues, so once we've got both stocks, their expected returns and their standard deviations, we can get the covariance. Okay, we can get the covariance to see how are they related to each other. Do they move in the same direction, or do they move in opposite directions? Okay, so here's the formula now for the covariance. Okay, each of the deviations for the deviation for ZFL multiplied by the deviations for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay, the deviations for both Zambezi Farms Limited and the Lusaka Securities Exchange, we're going to multiply those deviations. Okay, so let me show you on a table. Okay, let me use this here is for Zambezi Forest Limited, and this includes for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay, so let's focus just on the deviations. Okay, expected return, I remove that. Okay, so what's going to happen here is each deviation, okay, for the covariance, each deviation we're going to multiply. The deviation for Zambezi Forest Limited and the deviation for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay, so I'm multiplying deviation for Zambezi Forest Limited multiplied by deviation for the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Again, deviation for Zambezi ZFL, deviation for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay, deviation ZFL times the deviation for the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay. Alright, colleagues, we're only multiplying the deviations for both. Okay, deviation here and a deviation here. Any questions before I proceed further? Okay. These deviations which we calculated when we were getting the standard deviation for each of them, we are utilizing these deviations and we're multiplying them. Yes. Any questions?
Hello.
Hello.
I still not understand why we are assessing the Lusaka Stock Exchange, because my understanding is that, for example, Zambezi Farm Limited, they can float the shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. So the Lusaka Stock Exchange is like, it's the, can I say the agent or what? So I don't understand why we are assessing the performance of the stocks. Is it not that the Lusaka Stock Exchange facilitates companies to float their shares?
Yes, you are correct. Everything I've said there is correct, madam. I don't know why your lecturer put it like it is. It's according to the question. So, my understanding from what the question is saying is they're just like grouped all the companies in the Lusaka Securities Exchange to be represented by one single number. That's what we're comparing. So it's like we're comparing ZFL with the market. Okay, madam, that's my understanding why your lecturer put that. Okay. that okay, Manda? I believe.
Yes. Well, I'm trying to. Oh, I'm still trying to think through. I'll still come back if.
Yeah. For now, just take it as we're comparing ZFL and the overall market. Okay. Just take it like that. Then probably in one of your classes, just ask. Maybe we'll give you a better answer. Okay. Yes. Although I was asking, are there also any questions on this covariance tabulation here? The covariance tabulations. The deviations for each. Remember where the deviations are coming from, okay? For Lusaka Securities Exchange, these deviations here. These things that we were squaring, these. Okay. Each of these deviations, we are multiplying them with the deviations for ZFL, these deviations here. Okay, colleagues? That's what is happening here. That's what this formula is saying here. Covariance RI minus ERI, the deviation for ZFL multiplied by RM minus ERM, the deviation for Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay. Then you multiply. That's what we've done. So after multiplying, since there is an E here, sigma, after you multiply, then you add. Okay. Negative 4 plus 52 plus 51 plus negative 0.9, you get 98.75. Okay. After you multiply the deviations for both, add them. Okay. Then after you add them, divide by n, which is 4. Okay. So this 98.75 divided by 4 gives you 24.68. Okay. So this positive number tells us that ZFL and the Lusaka Securities Exchange, how they are related, they move in the same direction. So if one increases, the other one will also increase. If one drops, the other one will also drop. So for a portfolio, that is not good, because if all of them drop, means you do not make any return that year. At least one should drop, the other one should be up, so that you can get, you can make some return and you can make some money. Okay. So this positive covariance is just told us that ZFL moves in the same direction as the stock market, the Lusaka Securities Exchange. Okay. Now what? We'll have to calculate the beta. Okay. The beta is the covariance, this 24.68 that we calculated, divided by the market variance. Okay, the market variance. What was the market variance here? Yes, 6.68. Okay, market variance was 6.6875. Okay. So 24.6875 divided by 6.6875, you get 3.69. Okay, this is the beta for Zambezi Farms Limited. So So this beta, it is greater than the market. The market beta is 1. Okay, so to put this in context, what a beta of 3.619 means. The green line is the market, the red line is ZFL. Okay, so if the market increases by 1%, ZFL is going to increase by 3.69%. Okay, 3.69%. It's going to increase greater than the market. Okay, it's going to increase greater than the market. If the market increases by 10%, ZFL will increase by 30%. Okay, that's the one side to look at it. And if the market drops by 1%, ZFL is going to drop at a greater rate by 3.69%. Okay, so these shares are risky in simple terms. Okay, these shares are risky. They've got a high risk for ZFL. Okay, so to an investor, it signifies a beta of 3.69 means you're dealing with risky shares. If the market does well, you will do better than the market. But if the market does bad, you're going to do worse than the market. Any questions?